Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 2nd of December. I'm Derek Clark. I'm joined this morning by Blair Malloy. How goes it, Blair?
Morning, Derek. Yeah, I wrote in the newsletter yesterday for the subscribers. I can't believe we've came to December already. Always creeps up on you how quickly this winter period comes around. But I think equally at the same time, anybody who's watched Rangers so far this season will think it's been a long old season already. So yeah, in many ways I'm surprised, but in many ways I feel like I've been watching Rangers for about 10 years and it's only been 6 months.
Yeah. Do you get an advent calendar in December, Blair? Are you one of those guys?
So I did think I was a little bit too old for it, to be honest. But one of my pals bullied me into it and said you need to bring a little bit of joy back in your life. So I went and took the plunge and got myself a nice Malteser one. Because who doesn't love a bit of chocolate for breakfast? I mean that's what the festive season's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember the last time I had an advent calendar. I've got to say, and yeah, boo me, but there you go. Right, before we dive right in, well, thank you to you all that took advantage of our Black Friday offer. It ended at midnight last night. Blown away, actually, how many of you took up the offer. So thank you. Hopefully you enjoy the content for the year. 12 quid, absolutely sensational value. And you won't find Rangers coverage like that anywhere else, I can assure you of it. But yeah, thank you for signing up. A quick word for our podcast sponsors as well. Willow's Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust, proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years of experience in the fencing trade, and no job is too big or too small for these guys. You get free consultations as well as 10% off on their website, which is willows-fencing.com. Just on the theme of advent calendars, I've just noticed this from Neil. He says, I'd love one of the whiskey advent calendars. They cost a few £100 if anyone wants to buy me one. So there you go. I haven't seen a whiskey advent calendar as yet. I can assure you I'm not buying you one, Neil, but if anyone has got deep pockets that can help Neil out, then please do. But yeah, that'd be quite interesting. A whiskey every morning. Blair, would you be up for that?
To be fair, I think watching this team, it might need a wee drama in the morning to get you started. To be honest, I wouldn't begrudge anybody that who's going to Ibrox currently. Yeah, whiskey. I do like a whiskey. I know a little bit digressing a little bit, probably testament to the nature of the football on Sunday. But yes, I do love a malt, especially this time of year. It's always good to have a wee winter warmer, as I'd like to call it.
I'm a disgrace to Scottish people because I can't stomach a whiskey, I've got to say. It just sends me doolally, and I've just never warmed to it. But don't mind a hot toddy now and again. Well, now and again, do you like whiskey? Yes or no, folks, in the comments. That is at the topic.
9:34 in the morning, and we're discussing what your favourite drink is.
Dearie me. Right, Harvey with the point says, is there a press conference today? Yes, there is, and it's early. In fact, Chris is over at Auchenhowie for us. We'll hear from Danny Rule about 10:30. Then we'll hear from whatever player is put up for the press after he speaks to us all. So, it'll be interesting to see who's propped up. Let's play a game. Blair, who do you think is going to be put up for the press today, player-wise?
Oh, it was Jack Butland after the game on Sunday. So I'm going to say, I do wonder. I think they might put up not Connor Barney, I had him the other day. They may put up Bojan Majowski. I think they might put him up. I think he's likely to play. I think he's had a little bit of a tough time recently, but he is quite a good speaker. So maybe Bojan Majowski, or they'll play it safe and maybe put someone like James Tavernier up. Not sure.
Yeah, Miyoshi is a good shout. I don't know. I think have we heard from him since he arrived at the club? I'm not entirely sure.
We heard from him after his debut against Celtic, and then we heard from him after Hibs when he scored in the League Cup. Yeah, I'm sure we heard from him that day as well, but we've not heard from him since, and that was the 20th of September, I believe, because I was writing a piece about that was the last time that Rangers also kept a clean sheet at home at Ibrox. The last one was obviously on Sunday, but before that it was the 20th of September. So not heard from him since then. I think he's been a player who has came in for, quite rightly, some criticism in the last few weeks between himself, Yusuf Chermiti and Danilo. The club over the last couple of years spending the thick end of the best part of £20 million on 3 strikers that can't really seem to find the net at the minute is a bit of a concern, a bit of a worry. I know you're calling to ask me about Sunday, but I think Bojan Majowski on Sunday he had no service. He had nothing coming into him when he was trying to hold the ball up. And I said this after the game on Sunday when I was talking to Josh, that he's never been the best striker with his back to goal. He's never been the best striker holding the ball up and trying to spin a man. But everything was just coming off him, and he wasn't making his decisions quickly enough on Sunday. And then he just wasn't getting the opportunities. I said this on Sunday, and I wasn't being dramatic. It wasn't hyperbole when I said I can't remember the last time Bojan Majowski had a threatening shot in a Rangers jersey. I can't remember the last time he actually had a chance, which for a centre forward who, I'll hold my hands up, I thought it was going to be a great signing. I thought he was exactly what Rangers needed in the summer. I really did think that was a bit of a no-brainer of a signing, but it's absolutely not worked. Whether it's his fault, whether it's the creativity behind him, it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but it's not working for him at the moment.
Yep. Blue Nose John says, what about Bayrami for the presser? Perhaps. I'm going to plump for Manny Fernandez. There you go. I think they'll stick Manny Fernandez up, but we'll soon find out who will be speaking to us all. Just on Sunday then, Blair, of course, it was drab with a capital D. Rangers were just powder puff in attack. Didn't create a lot. I mean, a team shot from Conor Barron in the first half. Gassama should have scored in the second half. Tello Asgard missed a sitter. That was pretty much about it, and not a lot to write home about. We discussed yesterday when Johnny and Joshua were on about the lack of chances being created by this Rangers team currently. I guess it's no real surprise to see what unfolded on Sunday, given that Rangers don't create a lot.
Yeah, just a big, another damning indictment of the fact that so much money has been spent on this squad, and it just looks so poor. It just looks so lackluster all over the park. A few people were saying I was a little bit harsh on the defence after the game. I mean, they were okay, they were fine, but with respect, you'd expect a Rangers defence to be fine against Falkirk. You wouldn't.
Yeah. Yep.
You wouldn't be expecting anything other than that. And even at that, there were moments where Rangers could have conceded through their own calamitous decision-making at the back. The back two, I do understand that they've been thrust together and they've been thrown in together just because of the injury situation. I think we're not kidding anyone on to say that the starting back two would be Derek Cornelius and John Souttar if everybody had their first choice options. So it's very much a B team at the back there at the minute. I think Emmanuel Fernandez has done all right. I think he's shown a little bit of glimpses of why Kevin Fairwell thought it was a good idea to sign him in the first place. That header against Livingston, he's obviously got a good bit of aerial ability. I think he's grown into the game. I don't think he looks as nervy as Nasser Giga does. I think Nasser Giga is just having a right old time of it at the minute. He's one of those players that's got absolutely no confidence. You were there the other night when he came over and apologised to the fans after the European game, and you really, as much as you can criticise players, you feel for a guy when he's doing that, because you're like, in his head, he just wants the ground to swallow him up at that point, because just nothing's going right for the boy, and he's still young as well. You know what I mean? Like, you don't like to see a young guy like that on the end of a barrage from people just because it's not going well. But I think if Rangers had actually been serious about the recruitment and got it right, then he wouldn't be in the team as much. He wouldn't be relied upon as heavily, and he wouldn't be at the focal point of all this. A really interesting point coming out of Sunday was the Falkirk player who came in to speak to the press after the game, young Connor Allen, who actually was a Rangers player up until about 6 months ago. He was in the Rangers Academy. He was on loan at Falkirk to begin with, and then he moved to Falkirk permanently. He's been playing all season for Falkirk, 21 years old, I believe. One of the key men at their back line. And Rangers had him under their nose. Young Scottish centre-half that came through the academy. And we were discussing this on Saturday in the press room, going, is a kid like that really that much worse than Manny Fernandez, Nasser Giga, Derek Cornelius, that you feel the need to go and spend all this money on transfer fees, on loan fees, on wages? Is a kid like that really that far behind that you couldn't put him in next to a John Soot or next to a other experienced defender in a back two, in a back three, and then you've got a player for nothing essentially because he's came through your academy? And with that, you also get the added bonus that the fans will give him more of a chance. The fans will immediately be on side because he's came through the academy. You look at Finlay Curtis, how the clamour for him to get into the team. Most of that, one, because he does have a bit of goal scoring prowess from the academy, but also because he's the proverbial one of their own. And the fans want to have something to hang on to. They want to have something that they can look at and really feel connected to the team, because so far there's just such a disconnect between the fans and the players.
There is, yeah. Spoke about it yesterday. There's not a poster boy in that Rangers team that young kids can look up to and go, I want to be like that when I'm older. It really is disheartening, to say the least. And do I see that continuing on Wednesday night? Probably. I think every match at this point in time is almost a toss-up if Rangers are going to get a win or not. So I think Wednesday would be arguably, well, probably a tougher test for Rangers than what Sunday was. So it will be interesting to see what sort of lineup Danny Röhl goes for, if he looks to change the setup and try to alter things, because at this point in time, it's not working. So, yeah, interesting stuff. There's a few points that were coming in. Let's see here. The point from Ian sums it up. He says, Derek actually fell asleep after 40 minutes. I did not blame you, Ian. It was that bad, yeah, really dire stuff. And yeah, on the point on the defenders, you're right. I think Fernandez has come in and looked pretty decent in the last two games. That was probably arguably the man of the match on Sunday. Giga was better than Thursday. Couldn't have been any worse. But yeah, Rangers need better at the heart of the defence for me. And then come January time, they need players in there that can walk into that team and raise the levels. But yeah, not good. News in this morning, you would have seen, folks, Richard Gough speaking to the Scotsman, saying that he's offered his services to the Rangers hierarchy to help them out a little bit. He said, we're always taught you never criticise Rangers Football Club if you've played for them, but it's come to the point where I'm thinking they need a shot across the bows. What do you call it when someone is struggling or should be in rehab? They need an intervention that's not getting any better. I feel sorry for the manager at the moment. And he's been speaking about going to sort of ex-Rangers for a bit of help. He says he should be going around people like McCoist and gaining as much advice as he can. Put it all together from guys who have been successful at the club. On the transfers, he says the two boys, Emmanuel Fernandez and Nasser Giga, have been thrown in. I would imagine Cornelius and Suter are the first choice unless the manager wants to play a three. The two boys look big, strong, athletic, but they're not good enough. Not yet, at least. They might become good enough, but you don't get time to grow into it at Rangers or Celtic. You'll have to hit the ground running. Looking at the Rangers team now, of all the players we've signed, Gassama is maybe okay. So pretty damning there on the signings. Gassama, the only one getting the okay mark on it from a legendary figure of Rangers years gone by. I think they would do worse, Andrew Cavan and the likes, than to seek out guys like Richard Gough, Blair, just to get a bit of guidance on how to navigate Rangers through what has been very choppy waters.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with anything he said there, really. I think you read those quotes this morning and he's saying what a lot of Rangers fans are thinking in terms of the quality of players, in terms of just how the club looks to people on the outside that have both been involved in it and not been involved in it before. I think it speaks to a bit of a growing issue in Rangers that has been over the past few years, that there is a real reluctance to lean into guys who have been there in the past and maybe actually call on that support, call on that wisdom, and get people who have been winners at Rangers into the building, just to spread that through the club, because I think there's these intangible things that we maybe don't see every day, that when these players are in the building, when they're walking about and they're speaking to these new signings, they're speaking to these players, they're just leaving little imprints of the club on these players and just reminding them what it's all about to be at Ibrox and what it's all about and what it's like to win at Rangers. I think that's really one of the key things. I mean, as far as I believe that the board, one of the reasons that they gave publicly anyway for considering Russell Martin was going to be a success was because he had played at Rangers. But there's a difference between playing at Rangers and being a success at Rangers. Two completely different things. You get a guy like Russell Martin telling you what it was like playing at Rangers the year he was there. It's not inspiring. It's not something that you want to be a part of. It's not something that inspires awe from a player. You've got Richard Gough walking in, regaling stories of winning trophies, of dominating league championships, of going on 10, 12, 13 game winning runs, and the mentality it takes to go and do that. That's somebody you want in these new players here, especially if they're younger guys that have came and are not really familiar or au fait with the league and the rivalries. Somebody like that to come in and just be that person that can just have a wee word with them, out with the manager, out with the coaching staff. I always think the more of those people you have in the club, the better. So I think Rangers would do worse than to take up people on their offers, especially when they're offering it. When people are offering their services to come into the building, to lend a hand, I don't think they're doing it for any malicious reasons. They wouldn't be doing it for anything other than they just want to see the best interests of the club at heart. They want to see the club performing well on the park, and they just want to see the players performing. It's interesting what he says, that you're taught to not criticise the team once you've played from the outset. But I think it definitely comes a time where people, they can't ignore what they're watching, and they have to speak up and they have to say, look, compared to the team that I played in, compared to the teams that I've seen in the past, this is not a Rangers team, and this is not what fans recognise as a Rangers team. So yeah, I don't think there'll be many Rangers fans who wouldn't like to see someone with that gravitas, with that legendary status that the likes of Richard Gough has, be back in and around the club just to give the place a bit of a boost. I think it's also that ties in as well with this this point that's been quite prevalent over the past few months of the so-called Rangers man in the dugout. We don't exactly know why that's not materialised. I know Stephen Smith has been impressing with how he's been working within the building, and Danny Rule is keen to get him more involved. I like Stephen Smith. I've spoke to him. I think he's a really switched on guy. I think he's a really smart operator. But I do think you still need a bit more of a bigger Rangers personality, maybe not even on the bench, but just in there to give, again, something the fans to hold on to a little bit, something that the fans can see of themselves in the team on the bench, because that is how you bridge that gap. That is how you create that sort of unity when there's people at the club that the fans can really go, yeah, you're one of us. And without having that, I think it's tricky, especially when the performances on the park are the way that they are right now.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that, really. Gaz Jones with the point says, Gough to work with the defence, McCoys to work with the strikers. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. But yeah, it has gone quiet on that front. I think Danny Rule said recently, was it last week or whatever, he's now quite happy with his coaching staff. It was a big thing when he came in, wanting to have that sort of coach with the local background in alongside him, but it has fell away a little bit on that front. I do wonder with the movement behind the scenes whether it'll be picked back up again. Of course, we've seen yesterday the news that Jonathan Hunter-Barrett is not coming to Rangers now. That was a farewell appointment, and he will stay at Wolves. Were you surprised at that, Blair?
Surprised isn't the wrong. Surprised is probably the wrong word for what I thought. I think it was more intriguing, if I can use that word. I think it was more telling of perhaps what this is going to look like going forward, because if he was coming regardless of who was hiring him, then I think he would be hero ready. But this to me really, really smacks of the fact that this was a Kevin Thelwell appointment, and the fact that Kevin Thelwell is no longer here is really critical to the fact that he's no longer coming. Now, I don't know really anything about Jonathan Hunter-Barrett. I can't proclaim to be an expert on the guy. He may well be an excellent head of academies. He may well be really, really good at his job. I can't sit here and say one way or the other, but the fact that he's now not coming so quickly after the news that Kevin Thelwell is not going to be in post anymore is quite telling for me that this was another signing by Kevin Thelwell to go, well, I know this guy, or he's in my circle, he's in my sphere of reference, so let's just get him in. Because I think if Rangers were doing their due diligence and they seen this guy lined up anyway, they would just bring him in, because the deal's already pretty much done. Why would you throw that away when you then leaves you more work to go and get another head of academy? So that suggests to me that was very much a Thelwell signing. And what it also suggests to me is that going forward, I think a lot of this board that were shaped in the image of Kevin Thelwell, and again, this is just my personal opinion, I've said this before, the club have said there are no plans to make any more sweeping changes in the near future, but I think you're going to see a bit more change in the coming months, because I think that the board was shaped, like I said, in the image of Kevin Thelwell. And when he's not there, I think you're slowly going to see the pieces falling away a little bit.
Yeah, for me, I said it shows before, I don't see the benefit of still having his son there. Having the likes of Dan Purdy, Nathan Fisher, of course, who was brought in under Thelwell as well, I think. Yeah, in the fullness of time, we might see a few more departures on that front. Now, this is a point I wanted to bring up from James, seen that in, I think the Daily Mail had a report. What's happening about Bailey Rice's contract? Looks like he's going to walk for nothing. Is it? He is in the final year of his deal. He's out injured at the moment, of course. But reportedly, clubs down south are keeping tabs on him, namely Cardiff, West Brom, Sunderland, and Aston Villa. Looks like he's going to head out the door for nothing unless he signs a new deal, Blair. Some decent clubs said to be monitoring his situation. The issue I have with Bailey Rice is I quite like him. He just has to speed up certain aspects of his game. I thought a loan would have benefited him at some point, either last season or this start of this season. If he wasn't going to get a look in, he should have been out playing games somewhere. But is this one that Rangers risk losing, do you reckon?
Yeah, it's the injuries come for Bailey Rice at a very unfortunate time. It was a bit of a surprise when we got revealed that he was as badly injured as he was. Required surgery, will be out for a long period of time. Whether we'll actually see him in a Rangers shirt again, I don't know. It's probably debatable whether he will be back in any sort of contention before the end of this season. And then, as you say, whether he will actually sign an extension to the deal, I don't know. The question I would pose to yourself and to also the people watching, if you're Bailey Rice, why would you sign a new contract? Why would you sign a new contract at Rangers when you're not getting given a chance, when you're not seeing a pathway into the first team, when you're watching a guy who, let's not forget, if we rewind a little bit to when Rangers signed Bailey Rice, they went to Motherwell, they looked at the midfield pairing of Bailey Rice and Lennon Miller and went, we'll have Bailey Rice because he looks the better of the two players. Now, of course, you can only tell so much when players are 15, 16, 14, however. And there's only so much you can tell about how a player's going to develop, what a player shows. But Rangers went there and they pretty unequivocally said, look, we fancy this boy over Lennon Miller. Cool. So they've signed this guy and they think he's going to be one of the better young Scottish talents. And it was widely regarded at the time that he had a big future in the game. But he's just stagnated so much at Rangers, and I don't think he's the only one. I don't think he's the first one to have stagnated at Rangers as a young Scottish player coming through. I think there's so many examples over the past few years of young players not getting a chance and not being able to get a run in the team and actually go and prove what they can do long term at Rangers. And whether that is because it's not, it's a pretty unforgiving environment at the minute because the fans are so starved of success that they don't really have the patience or the time to give young players opportunities. But I dare say the fans would give a young player that came through the ranks more of an opportunity than a player that's brought in for big money. But also this constant recycling of managers and changing of managers, it means that when you get a manager that's coming in, it would take a brave guy to come in and go, the first thing I'm going to do is give the young players a chance, because no manager really does that. No manager comes in straight away and goes, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stick 2 19-year-olds in the team, because they want to win as many games as possible. And law of averages, winning as many games as possible comes with using more experienced players. So I think that it's difficult for a young player to get any sort of stability in the side when you're going through as many managers as quickly as they are. on his perspective, I agree with you. I think he hasn't really shown a lot of what he could bring to the table in terms of being a Rangers player long term, that he actually has the quality to be a Rangers first team player long term. He's looked good in spells, he's looked good at times, but I think it's another case of this boy has not been given enough of a consistent run in the team, or he's not been given a good loan spell somewhere, given a good loan period to go, okay, go and play for a year, play 30, 40 games in a season, really develop yourself into a player, and then see what you come back as. But I think you're seeing the same thing this season. It was a little bit of a different situation. Lyle Cameron's came in, a Scottish midfielder who, by all accounts, was very highly thought of in the division last year. He's not getting an opportunity, which I think Rangers fans are bewildered by, because at the beginning of the season, he looked like one of the brighter players. He looked like a player who was actually very aggressive and very attacking and had a lot of energy, and he's been left on the bench. Connor Barron is playing in the team now a little bit more, whether that's down to injury or he is getting a little bit of a chance 2 years in. And Finlay Curtis, of course. Finlay Curtis is a player who has been banging in the goals in the academy, has scored big goals this season already. So it's not as if he's not done it at the highest level. He's popped up against Panathinaikos, scored that important equaliser against St Mirren. He's a player that's had these big moments. But his career is already stopped and starting at Rangers, where he's not getting a consistent run in the team. He's not getting a chance because... And I think what really frustrates Rangers fans, and this is not just Rangers, this is clubs universally, what frustrates fans so much is seeing guys who are getting paid a lot of money and who have commanded a big transfer fee, and you're looking at it very objectively and you're going, he is no better than this boy in the academy. He's no better than him. So why has he not been given 10 games to go and prove himself when you've got other guys coming in who are playing week in, week out, who just aren't cutting it?
Yeah, again, you hit the nail on the head with some of your points there. James with the point says, is Wednesday night the ideal game for Lyle Cameron to start in? Absolutely. I want to see both he and Finlay Curtis start in the game. Can't be any worse than the players that have got the jerseys at this point in time. Talked about Giga as well earlier. I would like to see Clinton Enciala get a proper run as well, given the fact that I've seen enough last season to know that I think there's a player there, I've got to say, and given what we've seen from Nasser Giga, I don't necessarily think he's a better player than Clinton Enciala, and he's not even Rangers player either. So I'd like Danny Rule to be bold and play Enciala and give him an opportunity as well. Darren doing my job for me says, come on guys, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. Thank you, Darren, for that. Yeah, you heard what Darren has to say. So please do so, folks. It helps us here at the channel. Other bit of news, I've seen reports over in Spain, Blair, and this is an example of Rangers spending money that they really shouldn't have been spending on unproven guys. Oscar Cortes has not had much game time at Sporting Gijón, and a report over in the publication by the name of La Voz de Asturias claim that Rangers are considering recalling the Colombian and potentially finding him another club. That has not worked out for him. I struggle to see where he goes from here. I thought that might have helped him going down there to Spain, better climate. It's the division just below La Liga, but he's just not been given a look in. And this isn't going to work. And Rangers have wasted the best part of, £4 million on this boy. What do they do with Oscar Cortes, Blair?
Yeah, that's how do you solve a problem like Oscar Cortes? I have no idea what they do with this kid, because he showed a couple of bright moments during that loan spell. He showed a couple of flashes of, all right, this boy might have a little bit of talent. He might have something about him. He looked a little bit dynamic, and he looked to offer something a little bit different. He's picked up an injury, and these things can happen. If you get a bad injury, then it can really derail your career. It can really stop you in your tracks of becoming the player that everybody thinks you're going to become. And I'm not saying there's an excuse for Oscar Cortes, but when these things happen, there's nothing you can really do about it. I think going on loan this season was absolutely the best move. It was absolutely what everybody thought should happen. But again, it's just not really working out for him. I think if he's not playing, then just cancel it. Just cut the cord straight away. There's no point in wasting time there. Get him back in January. Get him out in another loan somewhere else. Surely get some sort of agreement where you're looking at a player going like that. Okay, and a team where they're going, yeah, we've seen this guy, we've watched what he can do, and he went at his best, and we will commit to giving him an opportunity, because there's no point in sending him somewhere where he has to go and prove himself again. You need to send him somewhere where he can go and play. Where that exists, I don't know. Whether it's at a lower level and he is a big fish in a small pond just to get his confidence back, then I think that's what you do, because at the minute, he's not offering anything to the clubs he's at, to Rangers, and he's another in a line of very expensive mistakes. Not by this incumbent, I must say, it was by the previous regime, but Rangers are still going to be paying for a lot of these mistakes for years to come, unfortunately.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens. Some saying that he can't play for 3 clubs in a season. He did come off the bench against Motherwell at Fir Park, which seems a lifetime ago now. Did play against Alloa in that early round of the League Cup also, and he's not really had much opportunities at the club in Spain. So yeah, that is another problem. No idea.
Yeah, that's an added complication I didn't quite realise there. Yeah, so it adds an even other layer of what do you do with this player? Because if you leave him out there and he's not playing, would you rather he was under your nose and not playing, so you can maybe kind of get him into the swing of things, and maybe Danny Rule can work a little bit of magic on him? But yeah, he's going to need to be Harry Houdini to work some magic on him to get a player out of him, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just realised the time. We'll wrap up shortly. A quick word, as Harvey quite rightly points out, well done to the under-19 squad last night. Yeah, absolutely. A dramatic win against Celtic at Barrowfield, thanks to goals from Cameron Fernie, Chris Condé, and a last-minute own goal. Always good to beat your arch rivals, and Rangers in the lashing rain recorded the victory last night. So well done to the young lads for that. Just a heads up again, folks, it is press conference day. Danny Rule will be speaking to Chris and the other assembled media outlets at around 10:30 this morning. We'll bring you what he has to say as soon as possible on the YouTube channel, and the full transcript will be available over on the website as well. The player will also be put up straight afterwards. Right, that will do us there. A big thank you to Blair as ever. Thank you to you all for interacting with the show. It's very much appreciated. I might be on later on with Chris for an afternoon show, perhaps, to discuss what was said in said press conference. But if we don't speak to you then, enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.